today, my partners and I's claim is that we are con that NASA should halt all manned space exploration for the foreseeable future. For now, we see manned space exploration as crucial in order to get the results that we really want to achieve. So my first point will be that sending humans into space will accomplish far more than scientific discoveries alone, which is all that robots really bring back. According to MIT, humans explore space in order to search for habitable worlds away from Earth, possibly leading to the discovery of present or past life on other planets, develop new technology to inspire children to study and seek careers in science, technology, engineering, and math, and to symbolize the American democracy to the world. Going into space is a huge power move, and it shows that other nations, that nation is superior. And also it will lead to a lot of other scientific discovery, not just what robots can bring back. Humans can do far more. In addition, according to Elizabeth Howell, who is a senior writer at Universe Today, government space programs have increased knowledge, served as indicators of national prestige and power, enhanced national security and military strength, and provided significant benefits to the general public. These are just a few other things other than science that human space exploration has achieved, and robots could never do these things because they are not humans. What my partner failed to mention was that humans are far more efficient than robots. So according to phys.org, which is a science research and technology news aggregator, recent failures have more than quadrupled success rates for unmanned missions. Now that's a huge loss even though they might be a lot cheaper, there's a huge loss in that because they're just not getting the same results that humans will get. So robots' sample return is actually not as efficient. According to Ian Crawford, who is a professor in planetary science, robots return neither the quantity or the diversity of samples that a human would. For example, 382 kilograms of samples were returned by humans on the Apollo mission from 2,000 separate locations. On the contrary, to contrast, 0.32 kilograms were collected by the Luna from only 3 locations. Now that is a huge difference and a huge loss. Even though it might be a lot cheaper, humans are achieving much more in a shorter amount of time. So there's also a lot of confusion that goes into this with the samples that are returned when robots get them over humans. According to Paul Spudis, who's a senior staff scientist, before the Apollo missions went to the moon, many people believed that the dark, smooth Maria were composed of volcanic lava. This was based on the image taken from Earth's telescopes and robotic spacecraft that showed volcanic forms. Now this was extremely misleading, and we didn't realize that this wasn't true until we actually went into space ourselves. Humans need to observe the whole picture in order to get results. Paul Spudis goes on to discuss that data and understanding is not the same thing. When we conduct a mission to explore some aspect of planets, we seek to understand how certain properties came to be in their sequence in the generation of planetary features, as well as how and when. The knowledge scientists study from the data returned from the robotic probes is always incomplete and fragmentary, being wholly misleading, which you just found out in the last point that I made. How much information are the rovers actually obtaining? Paul Spudis goes on to discuss that we've been told about the accomplishments of the Mars exploration rovers, yet for all the data they've collected, we still cannot draw a geological cross-section of their landing sites, and we still do not know the origin of many of the rocks on the site. A human geologist would have been able to obtain this information after just a few hours of field work. Now this is a huge difference because robots take a lot longer to do what humans can do in just a couple of hours. Astronauts actually get a lot better samples than robots ever could. So Francis Slakey, who is a lecturer on physics and public policy at Georgetown, states that on the Apollo missions, astronauts were able to select the most representative samples of a given locality and recognize interesting or exotic rocks and act on such discoveries. This is because they were able to understand the geological makeup and the structure. Robots could never do that because we can't program them to pick certain rocks and observe them while they're up there and get the actual results that we're needing to get. So, my opponent discusses the cost and how much robots are a lot cheaper, but the reason that robots are cheaper, according to Ian Crawford, a huge reason for this is because they don't usually come back to Earth, so they're only sending them on a one-way ship up into space, and you don't need to bring them back, so that takes away a lot of the cost. Ian Crawford also goes on to discuss that humans are 2 to 3 orders of magnitude more efficient in exploration, but only 1 to 2 orders of magnitude more money. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck when you're sending humans into space, even if it is slightly more expensive, you're still getting a lot more. So my last point is that robots are just not as flexible as humans. According to Francis Lakey, machines are capable of limited self-repair, switching to redundant systems that can perform the same task as damaged equipment, but don't possess the same flexibility as people. There have been a lot of instances when humans have been able to save missions because they are so flexible and can adjust certain things if they're broken, but robots will just stay up there, and that is a big loss of just the mission altogether. For example, in 1973, the Skylab's thermal heat shield was turned off and the solar panels were lost. The Skylab crew installed a new thermal shield and was able to deploy the pinned solar panel, saving the mission altogether. Now, if this was a robot, it would have just stayed up there and become space junk. So, there is hope for the future in regard to the astronauts' safety as well, which was another point that my opponent has made, because modern technology is furthering manned space exploration. According to National Geographic in 2019, the Orion Crew exploration vehicle is similar to the Apollo missions, but with modern technology. It has 3 times the velocity capacity and only needs a 4-person crew, other than 7, which is typical of manned space exploration. It is much safer and more reliable than our current space shuttle. Its capsules can also be reused up to 10 times and land on dry land, not just in water. So it is much more capable than our now space shuttles. And because the capsules can be reused up to 10 times, it will allow for this to be a lot cheaper. And as modern technology is becoming more and more innovative, we are able to make things a lot cheaper, and things are getting a lot better, and it's also becoming safer than things that we've known before, as with other technology that is going on. Thank you.